You think you know fear. You think you understand power. For centuries, Rome carved an empire from blood and iron. But behind every conquest, every trembling foe, stood a single figure. The general. Not just leaders, but architects of terror. They didn't just win battles, they broke nations. By the end of this journey, you'll understand the true nature of their ruthlessness and why their names alone could make armies tremble. This is the story of the 10 most feared generals of the Roman Empire. Long before the whispers of their coming reached the edges of the known world, their legend was already forged. They were titans among men, chosen by Mars himself, or so their enemies believed. Not all conquerors are remembered with awe. Some are etched into history with the cold dread of absolute power. These were the men who didn't just command legions, they commanded fear itself. Their tactics were brutal, their resolve unyielding, their victories absolute. They were the shadows at the edge of the known world, and their names echoed in the nightmares of every barbarian king, every defiant republic, every civilization that dared to stand in Rome's way. They embodied the brutal heart of an empire built on conquest. To understand the fear these men inspired, you must first understand the machine they wielded. The Roman military wasn't just an army. It was an unstoppable force of nature, meticulously engineered for conquest. From the disciplined ranks of the legionary, perfected over centuries, to the ingenious siege engines that could crack the strongest walls, Rome built a war machine unlike any other. They innovated, adapted, and relentlessly pursued perfection in the art of war. But even the most finely tuned instrument needs a master conductor. These generals were those conductors, twisting this formidable power into a weapon of psychological warfare, making their enemies believe resistance was not just futile, but fatal. It was within this crucible of ambition and organized violence that true terror was born. Imagine yourself a raw recruit, the chill of the pre-dawn air biting at your skin. Your muscles ache, your hands blistered from endless drills. You hear the rhythmic thump, thump, thump of your centurion's stick against the shield of a lagging soldier. Discipline isn't taught, it's hammered into your very bones. You march 20 miles a day in full armor, carrying your own shovel and rations, then build a fortified camp every single night. Sleep is a luxury. Failure is not an option. But then, you see him, the general. He walks among you, his gaze sharp, missing nothing. He eats the same hardtack, endures the same hardships. He knows your name, your family, your struggles. He demands absolute loyalty, absolute obedience. In return, he promises victory, glory, and the chance to return home. He forges you into a weapon, and you become that weapon, not just for Rome, but for him. You'll follow him into any hell because you know he will lead you out victorious. And that unshakable belief, that absolute trust in his ruthless genius, is what truly made him feared. Not just by the enemy, but by every man who understood the sheer force of his will. Let's talk about a specific moment, a collision that defined Roman terror. Alesia. It was 52 BC. Gaul, a vast land of fiercely independent tribes, had found its champion in Vercingetorix. He united them, something Rome believed impossible. And facing this united fury was one of our feared generals, Julius Caesar. The stakes? Nothing less than the complete conquest of Gaul, and Caesar's own burgeoning reputation. Vercingetorix led hundreds of thousands of warriors, trapping Caesar's legions at Alesia. The Gauls believed they had him, but Caesar didn't just fight one enemy, he fought two. He built a massive circumvallation, a ring of fortifications around Alesia, to besiege Vercingetorix. And then he built another ring, a contravallation, facing outwards, to hold off the enormous Gallic relief army that was marching to break the siege. Imagine the impossible audacity, to be outnumbered 2-1, trapped between two immense armies, and still believe you could win. Caesar's legions, inspired by his sheer unbending will, fought both ways. The sound of battle was deafening, the air thick with dust and desperation. Vercingetorix, witnessing the impossible resilience of the Romans, the sheer tactical genius of Caesar, knew true fear. He surrendered, not just to a superior army, but to a superior mind. And in that surrender, the spirit of Gallic resistance was utterly broken. This wasn't just a battle won, it was a nation psychologically dismantled. That is the kind of fear these generals instilled. But what about the men who followed them? The ones who faced the terror with them? For a Roman general to be truly feared by his enemies, he first had to be utterly revered, and perhaps a little feared, by his own men. This wasn't a relationship built on casual affection, but on absolute trust in his judgment, his tactical genius, and his almost superhuman ability to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. There are countless anecdotes of generals fighting on the front lines, leading by example, sharing the hardships of their soldiers. They knew their men by name, remembered their families, understood their sacrifices, yet they also maintained an iron grip, demanding unwavering discipline. A general might offer a stirring speech before battle, inspiring his men to impossible feats, and then, without hesitation, order a decimation, the brutal execution of 1 in 10 soldiers, if a cohort broke ranks or showed cowardice. This duality is key. The fear they inspired wasn't just about their ruthlessness towards the enemy. It was about their absolute commitment to victory, whatever the cost. Their soldiers feared failing them almost as much as they feared the enemy. This fierce loyalty, born from shared hardship and an unshakable belief in their general's ultimate success, amplified their terror. For if even their own men, who loved them, feared their resolve, what chance did a foreign enemy stand? Empires, like all things, are mortal. The thundering hooves, the clash of steel, the guttural cries of a Roman charge. These sounds eventually fade into the echoes of history. The grand legions, the formidable war dogs, even the most feared generals. They didn't truly die. Their physical forms returned to the dust from which they came. They just became memory, the strategic brilliance, the ruthless efficiency, the raw terror they inspired. It didn't vanish. It transformed, becoming part of the bedrock of Roman identity, a chilling legacy whispered across generations. The empire itself, perhaps, became a living monument to the fear they once wielded. But that memory, that legacy, it lives on. Their shadows still loom large over the very concept of military leadership. Their strategies are still studied, their ruthlessness still marveled at. It's time to finally reveal the architects of that terror. Number 10. Lucius Cornelius Sulla Felix, the dictator. He turned Roman legions against Rome itself. A general so feared, he purged thousands of his own countrymen, his prescriptions turning streets red, his name a byword for ruthless political ambition enforced by military might. He showed that Rome's greatest threat could come from within, and that a general's power could reshape the very state. Number 9. Gaius Marius, the reformer. He transformed the Roman army, opening its ranks to the landless poor, creating professional soldiers loyal only to their general. His 7 consulships and brutal campaigns against Germanic tribes and the Cimbri made him a savior to Rome. But his merciless efficiency and political machinations laid the groundwork for future civil wars. He created the instrument of power that others would later wield. At 8, Agrippa, the loyal enforcer. Octavian's right-hand man, the tactical genius who perfected naval warfare and crushed Antony and Cleopatra at Actium. Agrippa was the implementer of empire, an unstoppable force on land and sea, his presence alone a guarantee of victory and the brutal suppression of any opposition to his emperor. Number 7. Germanicus. Though often portrayed as a noble hero, His relentless pursuit of vengeance against Germanic tribes after Teutoburg Forest, his brutal scorched earth tactics, and the sheer scale of the retribution he exacted, cemented Rome's place as an avenging power. He was feared not just for his victories, but for the unforgiving hammer he brought down upon Rome's enemies. Coming in at 6, Titus, the conqueror of Jerusalem. His legions razed the holy city, massacring thousands and destroying the temple, ending a rebellion with a level of brutality that echoed across the centuries. His triumph was built on the ashes of a nation, a stark reminder of Rome's unyielding will. At 5, Scipio Africanus, the man who defeated Hannibal. He didn't just win, he studied his enemy, outsmarted them, and brought the war to Carthage's doorstep. His campaigns in Spain and Africa were marked by brilliant maneuvers and decisive, crushing victories that ended the greatest threat Rome ever faced. He was feared for his uncanny ability to beat the unbeatable. Number 4, Pompey the Great. The 3-time consul, the conqueror of pirates, the general who extended Roman power into the east with breathtaking speed and efficiency. His sheer number of triumphs and his vast wealth made him a colossal figure, his very name synonymous with overwhelming military force. He was an empire unto himself, a walking, breathing threat to any who stood against him. Moving to 3, Marcus Licinius Crassus, the wealthiest Roman, but also a brutal general. He put down the Spartacus revolt with unspeakable cruelty, crucifying 6,000 slaves along the Appian Way as a horrific warning. His ambition and his ruthlessness were legendary, proving that wealth could command armies and wield terror with chilling precision. At number 2, Hannibal Barca. Wait, Hannibal was Rome's enemy. Indeed, but no general, Roman or otherwise, inspired more terror in the heart of Rome itself. For over a decade, he ravaged Italy, inflicting devastating defeats at Cannae and Trasimene. Roman mothers invoked his name to scare their children. The fear he instilled in Rome forged the steel of its generals and made them truly feared in return. He is on this list because he showed the Romans what true existential dread felt like. And finally, at number 1, the general whose name is synonymous with Roman might, tactical genius, and absolute ruthlessness. No general shaped Rome and the world more profoundly. His campaigns in Gaul were a masterclass in swift, brutal conquest, leading to the subjugation of millions. His crossing of the Rubicon plunged Rome into civil war, and his famous phrase, Veni, Vidi, Vici, I came, I saw, I conquered, encapsulates his relentless, unstoppable will. He was feared by kings, by senators, and by every army that dared stand in his path. Caesar wasn't just a general, he was a force of destiny, and his legend continues to inspire both awe and terror. These are the names that echo through time, not just as conquerors, but as masters of fear. They bent nations to Rome's will, not just through steel, but through the psychological weight of their inevitable victory. It makes you wonder, in our modern world, where power is wielded in different ways, what truly makes a leader feared? Is it raw strength, strategic genius, or the unshakable conviction that they will win no matter the cost? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If this deep dive into the hearts of Rome's most feared generals captivated you, then a like on this video lets us know to bring you more stories from the annals of empire. And if you want to continue exploring the lives of these titans, check out our video on the forgotten legions of Rome right here. As always, may history never be forgotten.